Guys, welcome, man. Good to see you boys. Thanks for a little bit of time today. And I gotta be thinking, for as long as both bands have been around and the way that festivals are, you guys must have done shows together, but have you toured exclusively together before?
We have not. This will be the first time, but we have played a lot of shows together.
So how does this tour get put together? Does a phone call get made? Is it more managerial people, or does it come down to the, I mean, again, you guys are veterans. So, I mean, do you pick up a phone and call? How does that work?
Well, I mean, they ask us if we want to, but I mean, honestly, like managers get together and they make it happen. But I mean, they ask and you're like, heck yeah,
Yeah, we played a show last year, and we were supposed to do this in 2020, but the pandemic knocked that out. And we played last year together, and we just were looking, and Brad and I was like, "Listen, man, this has got to happen because we've played so many shows together. We've had such a good time over the 15, 20 years we've known one another." And every time we see one another, we just, Greg is one of my best friends. They're drummers. And, so it would seem like the obvious, and so lucky that it worked out for their 20th anniversary, and our 30th. It's something that we're both really looking forward to. And, as bands go, we all have the utmost respect for one another musically, and with the craft that we've got, it's going to be such a great show. We know that the audience is going to walk away from this with just the greatest feeling in their heart about all the songs that they've heard, and all those memories that those songs bring up for them.
Well, Kevin, don't go anywhere because, okay, 30 years. I get where there's a nice little neat bow on the number 30 and everything. What are you saying about why is this the end? And I don't know what isn't on the table here, so you can just tell me to shut up anytime. But dude, you're not old. And I know, because I saw you here 2 years ago and you sing your ass off. What is this about Candlebox being done at 30 years?
Well, I just kind of feel like, I had time during the pandemic to really realize how special life is and how short it is. Spending as much time with my son and my wife as I was able to do, just kind of opened my eyes to the world that I live in, and how brief it is. And I just don't want to miss any more. I'll still play charitable shows, charitable events. I'll still go out there and do like an acoustic set here and there to raise money for something. But, I just realized that it's time for me to be able to enjoy the life that I've worked very, very hard to get to. And that's not to say that I'm not going to miss the fans. I certainly am, because they've given me my career and my life. And I'm certainly going to miss bands like Three Doors Down, my buddies that play these songs that I love, that I've grown to love over the past 30 years. That's going to be hard for me, but I've got to do what's right in my heart, and my heart's telling me that it's time for me to be the husband and the father that I'm supposed to be.
But no one's ever quit before. You know that, right? Like the Motley Crue with their silly contracts, and Ozzy, no more tours tour, 1992. Yeah. So let that sink in for a second.
Well, listen, I'm not Ozzy, and I'm not Ozzy, and I don't have Ozzy's money,
But outside of Slayer, who, again, they have held true, they did a farewell tour, and that was it. They're the only ones. No one has ever really quit.
I want to be parallel with that name, Slayer. Candlebox and Slayer, I think. That will be the only two that ever did it.
What about you, Brad? I mean, you got a big 20th anniversary, but you guys have been around a lot longer than that. Did you ever put any kind of a number on it, Brad, or any kind of a shelf life on Three Doors Down? Because you're the OG member.
I've been saying I was going to retire when I was 35, when I was 40. Now I'm 45. I still ain't retired. And yeah, I don't know. I agree though. You give a lot to music, and you give a lot to tour, and I love doing it, and but at the same time, I don't want to be an old man. I don't tour either. I think, there's a lot of bands that go out when they're really old, and honestly, I think they just do it to go out and make some money. And
of course,
they just, I don't want to be that guy. When I feel like we don't sound good or something, I quit then, and I mean, or just, I don't know, when it don't seem right, it'll be the time. But
I
I don't want to do it forever though.
And as a fan, just strictly as a fan, I can appreciate the hell out of that, because I think the saying is, you don't want to be at the party too long,
That's right.
and I grew up like such a insane Kiss fan, just being a little kid and everything, and I bring them up as an example. But would you talk to your friend Kevin? He can still sing his ass off. Okay, you still need to be at that party.
I just heard him about 6 months ago, and he sounded awesome.
Yes. So, I mean, that's not the case here. And when you look at this is what's interesting. So when you guys get here to Houston, September 23rd, what my good friend Kevin Martin is telling me is the final Candlebox show is going to be here in Houston, Texas. So that's kind of blowing my mind a little bit.
Well, I mean, the final Candlebox show in the States, I know we're talking about going to South America and some other places to wrap things up, but yeah, but I mean, in the States, I think Houston is the last show that you'll see.
You wouldn't do one final blowout hometown?
No, I think we're talking about doing something special with the Seattle Symphony next year. We tried to do it this year. We started in on it right around October of last year, trying to get it done. But when you're doing charts and stuff like that for a symphony, it just takes so much time. So that looks like that's going to be something that happens next year with the original band, and we'll do that with the Seattle Symphony, and but that will be kind of like, that's the OG, the big goodbye.
Wow. It's just hard to kind of process all of that, for sure. So great to have you guys on. The show is going to be here in Houston at the Smart Financial Center on September 23rd. One thing that I always do, and I'll wrap it up, but I always bring up to singers, because you're God's chosen ones. Now, Brad's going to say, well, I started out as a drummer, but could you both? I'll start with Brad, because I know you were the drummer, but could you always sing? Because that's the thing. These other instruments and everything, you got to put in so much time, but the goddamn singers, man, they're just born with it, and it's like almost not fair.
I think the first thing you have to be is not ashamed to sing. And I'm the youngest of 7 kids, and a lot of my brothers and sisters and my parents, my mom at least, we're all kind of loud, and so it was never like, I think that what keeps a lot of people from singing is that they don't think they can sing. And I know that some people can't, but I think more people can than think they can. And I think just part of it is not being ashamed to sing and never being bashful about it, because then you open up and it develops naturally, and I grew up in an Assembly of God church too, which is also really, I mean, they got full band and a lot of people singing and stuff in there. So, I mean, I never sang in front of church, but you grow up like singing in church, and so that was I was never bashful about it, and I never had to like walk around my house like not singing. I never got picked on about it and stuff, and so I think that was an important thing in developing a singer. But I only started singing for this band because we didn't have a singer. I just wanted to be the drummer. I'd never sang in front of anybody. And even after we made our first demo and stuff, I brought it home and let my parents hear it. And my daddy said, well, who's that singing? I said, that's me. He said, that ain't you. I said, it is. But and I'd been singing for a while at that point, but he'd never heard me. And
it's like when Phil Collins was sitting back there, Peter Gabriel was the lead singer of Genesis, and then they tried out a million singers, and they just said, well, why don't you just do it?
Yeah, it was easier to find a drummer than it was another singer.
Now, Kevin, same thing for you. I mean, could you always sing as when you were young?
Yeah, I started singing in choir in 2nd grade. I did that all the way up through my senior year as an elective. My mother was a singer. My father was a jazz musician. And like Brad, music was always in the house, and I was always singing. So, but I'm same as Brad as well. I started out as a drummer, and I got stuck with this gig singing for Candlebox, and that was because I was doing some demos for a friend who needed somebody to sing on some stuff. So, here I am, 30 years later, still doing it. The reluctant lead singer of a rock band. I'd much rather be behind the drums, because that's my favorite instrument in the world.
It's so crazy that you both have that same story of starting out as drummers, because it doesn't happen that way. I mean, it doesn't happen that often. And it's crazy that I've got 2 similar stories here. We've got 3 Doors Down. We've got Candlebox. Brad, talk to your friend, please. Tell him he's not done. He's got more in him. I can't even think about Kevin Martin being done singing. thank you guys so much for your time, man. You can tell I'm a huge fan of both of your bands, and you know, you guys have always, and I'll say both of you guys have both been so cool with radio over the years, and you continue. I mean, into your 30th year now, you've continued to be so cool with radio, both of you guys. And Kevin, I know you've helped us out with some bands here in Houston.
Thank you.
And, you know, and I know that it's in your blood, and I know you're both just really great dudes, man. So you guys on the same stage. It's an amazing night. September 23rd. Tickets are on sale here, guys. Thank you so much today, man. I really appreciate you both.
Thank you for having us, man. And y'all have always been so good to us. Radio's always been great for us, man. And we appreciate y'all.
Awesome, man. All right, guys. Can't wait to see you, man. Let's hook up when you're in town.
You got it.
All right. Take care.